So hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Cooking Learning Burst with Michelle Estrada. Let's see. So I can see your screen.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so happy that we're going to be talking about edible science. So I hope you enjoyed this class as much as I do. It was so funny because we just had yesterday a 4-H summer camp. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that we did. They were between 6 and 8 years old. So of course, a little bit more vocabulary there, but we'll share it a little bit later. So again, my name is Michelle Estrada. I'm the Family and Consumer Science Agent with Cooperative Extension, Wayne County Center. And I can't wait to share all this with you. So we're going to go to our next slide, Marianne, please. And Marianne is helping me with the cameras. And I think, okay, now I got it. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about science, including early science, food science, and then putting together early food science. And then we're going to do early food science activities, resources, and any questions or ideas that you would like to share with us. Okay, so just talking about early science, where there is a child, there is curiosity. And where there is curiosity, there is science. And that is, I'm 100% about all that, because every time that I see a child and, you expose them to something new, or you have something interesting, they're going to ask you 100 questions, and we don't need to tell them all the answers. And I think that's the magic about science, that we need to discover with them. So science is not a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking and acting, a way of trying to discover the nature of things. Science learning at any age involves curiosity, exploration, and discovery. So I don't know if you remember when you were a child and you were trying to learn about something. It was not boring, right? Everything was so exciting. I remember my children always putting rocks in their pockets and telling me about, look, mommy, what I found. And I'll be like, of course, I was a preschool teacher at that time and I knew what to do. So I would be like, oh my goodness, what is it? And, they told me everything that it was, except that was a rock. Like as an adult, we just say, oh, that's a rock. But for them, no, it was so many things. And then they knew that it was a rock, but it was so much fun to really find other names for that or other ways to use that rock. We can go to the next slide. So let's keep, okay, now let's keep talking about early science. So there's many reasons why we need to teach science to children, but children are, they naturally enjoy observing and thinking about nature, right? So it's not something that we don't need to force. They really enjoy that kind of being exposed into nature. They love to be outside and they love to look at plants and they soil, all those things. Exposing children to science develops positive attitudes towards science. So how many times we say, oh no, I don't really like science. I don't really like to do that as an adult, maybe because we were not exposed like at an early age, right? But what about those children that they love insects and they love to learn how things grow and how, the different cycles of life? So those are the kind of opportunities that we need to give them. Early exposure to scientific phenomena leads to better understanding of scientific concepts is stood out when you're studying them in a formal way. So very, very important that we don't have to do it in a formal way right now. Looking or trying to research information for this presentation, it makes me think that many times even the resources that are available for early childhood education, they're trying to explain children why the phenomena is happening. We don't need to explain children. They have to discover themselves. And it doesn't have to be as formal as we know, like later in education, like we want to understand and we need to learn the right concepts. But at this early age, it's okay. We're just building vocabulary. We're just discovering things. The use of scientifically informed language at an early age influenced the eventual development of scientific concepts. So while we're discovering and while the children are learning that vocabulary, again, not giving them the answers, but just letting them really explore the world around them is what later on they will develop those specific concepts and they will understand what this concept means. Children can understand these scientific concepts and reason scientifically. And it's amazing when you're trying to help children to understand something. Sometimes I don't think we give them enough credit, but when they're asking or they are explaining you how things work, they make so much sense that sometimes we even start thinking about, is that how it works or not? So science is an efficient means for developing scientific thinking. And that's what we want for children, right? Sometimes like, I don't think this happened in early childhood education, but later in the years, I remember my son was having problems because he was used to the way I was teaching him. Everything was about discovering things. And then when he started going to elementary, he was like telling me, I am bored of having so many worksheets. Everything was in a worksheet. Another time that I remembered with my daughter having a hard time, she was doing a project for her county fair. So I told her, in order for your lines to be straight, you need to measure. And that was, these are like math concepts, but it's kind of like the same thing. So she said, I don't know how to measure. And she was maybe in 3rd grade. And I said, you just learned about that because I saw a worksheet. She said, yeah, but we didn't use a ruler. And I say, so what they used, it was what it was on the worksheet. So she never applied that concept that she learned. So I had to teach her how to use a ruler so her lines were straight. And she was doing like a ticket booth. And, she was doing like a wide and a red line, wide and red. So she was having a hard time. Then when the judge saw her work, they thought that an adult did it because the lines were so straight. But she was actually applying what she learned. So that's what is so important, that we start early so we can really let them apply what they're learning and not just in a worksheet. So another thing that we're going to learn today, well, we already know this, but we want to be sure that we are considering all these steps. So in early science, in the scientific method, we make observations, right? So how do children make observations? They don't only use their eyes, but they use all their senses. And that's the way they're making these observations while exploring everything. Just remember, well, some children, they're having the ability or they're having the freedom at home to play in the dirt, to play in the sand, or, to touch insects. There are other children that they don't have that. So it's important that in school, we can let them have that freedom and let them explore. We start forming questions. And we start thinking, I wonder if this will happen. So when we are acting as that person that is guiding them, and what kind of questions can we ask ourselves about a phenomena, we can really help them to learn more. We also develop a hypothesis. So I think this will happen if we do this. I think this will happen. Again, I'm going back to what we said before. Why do we give them the answers? Let's just pretend, let's just think about it, and let's see how far can we go with that new knowledge. And then we'll test those hypotheses, and then we can see if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, it's not a failure. We are teaching our children to be confident about what they're doing, because it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not having it right. And we keep trying until we have the right, what we want to learn. Then we can record the results. And I have seen so many of you using graphic or graphs to record those results. And that is very, very important. So another thing that I remember about this part, when I was teaching at the Reggio Emilia school that I work in Mexico, everything it needed to be, we needed to use, of course, for that philosophy, we use 100 language, the 100 languages of children. But one of the things, it was not just about talking, but also representing in different ways, the way that a child wanted to represent those results or whatever it was in their brain. Like I always said, I think I'm like a child sometimes, because in learning language, learning English, sometimes I don't know the word, but I know what I want to say. So I'm always like drawing what I want to say, or even using my hands. I think that's what I use, my hands a lot. So very, very important to let children express in using different languages and then share the results. So let me tell you what happened when I did this, and so we can explain the whole process. I always say that it doesn't matter what we're doing with the children. It's the most important is not the results, it is the process. So if children can go to the different steps of that process and they can show you how much they learn, I think that's what I value the most. Okay, so we're going to go here. So there's so many skills that we can learn, or the children can learn, by using science, early science. So we can teach them how to observe. And sometimes as an adult, we don't even know how to do that, right? So we want to be sure that at that age, we're encouraging children to observe. And again, when we're observing, it's not just about color or size. There's so many other things that we can observe, like changes. And when we're comparing two things, those are things that we can encourage them to observe. Going to the next one, we're comparing to different things, how the reaction of one thing, or what happened if I add one thing to the other one, or if I change something, classifying, measuring. And while these two are part of the math skills, they're also part of science. And the way that we apply it when we are letting them think, it's not just about teaching them how to apply something, but understanding. When the child can understand how to use those skills, it is so much easier. It will be so much easier for them in the future to apply in the real life, right? Communicating. Oh my goodness, when I'm thinking about language and communicating, normally I would say, when you're learning another language, you use kind of like the basic vocabulary. But if I take my car to the mechanic, I don't understand that English. It is really hard and it's confusing, because there are so many words that not only that I don't know, but because I don't understand the mechanics of my car. So I have to really do a little bit more research, or I need to ask questions to learn that kind of communication. And I think that's what we want to promote. It's not just about saying the house is blue. It's like teaching a little bit more in deep. So inferring, when they are like trying to figure out things, when they're predicting, those are the things that we want to be sure that they are learning, that they are developing those skills. So I am talking about all these skills because I know right now you're thinking about some of the activities that you have done that you're like, when I did this activity with my children, they were really practicing those skills. There are some activities that sometimes we do as teachers and, but when we are really asking questions and we're promoting different skills, or when we are exposing children to different items that they will provoke all these skills, I think we're doing a really good job as teachers. Now, remember I said we're going to talk about early science. Now we're going to put the word food. So now we're talking about food science. So food science is simple, the study of food. So food scientists use various methods of study to study all about the food we eat. So that includes examining the makeup of food, how to process or make food, and what packaging and conditions to make it safe for us to eat. Okay, so I just want you to keep that in mind. We'll put all that information in one side of your brain so you can start thinking about, okay, food science and early science. So how can we put those two things together? So now these are the areas of food science. The sensory science includes new products development. So that includes create new flavors, develop products that are more convenient, more nutritious, more fun, right? This is the people that is studying food sciences. That's the type of work that they do. They also have taste panels. They work with consumers and train experts to determine what's the most desirable in a product. All these is making me think about my summer camp. So just, go with me, go with the flow, and I'll tell you a little bit. Food chemistry. Understand the structure and function of foods and ingredients. Ensure the product stability, consistent flavor and texture, and ease of the processing. Then make foods healthier, add nutrients, lower fat content, increase fiber content, and whatever market demands. Now, microbiology includes all about food safety, right? From the way we prepare foods to the way we transfer foods and all the channels. Then with fermented foods, we know that it includes beverages, fermented dairy products, soy and vegetable fermentation. So everything about food preservation. Now, engineering. Package foods in such a way that their shelf life extended and their flavor and nutrition is preserved. And then processing is to develop processes to ensure product quality and maximize processing efficiency. Okay, so we're good. We learned all the areas of food science. So far, do we have any questions? I'm so glad that you're not sleeping yet. Okay, so last week we talked about food literacy, right? And early food literacy. So this time I wanted to put two concepts together again. Early science and food science. Okay, so we'll do early food science. And that's what we need to start bringing to we want our children to eat healthy, right? Because we know that if they eat healthy, they're going to become healthier adults. So food preferences are formed early in life. Learning about food can prepare young children for a lifetime of healthy eating by equipping them with the beginning skills to grow, select, and cook foods. So the more children understand about food, the more likely they're going to try new foods and they will eat a healthy diet. So it makes a lot of sense to put these two things together because we want to teach science, but we also want them to learn about healthy eating. So if we put these two concepts together, we can make great things. Okay, so this is my wonderful friend, Virginia Stage. She is, she's not new, but maybe she has been working at NC State for a year now. She's an assistant professor and nutrition education and behavior specialist. So for many, many years, I have been waiting for somebody like her. She's so passionate about healthy eating and children and how children learn. So she introduced to me these website, and actually they're making a lot of changes. That's why I didn't want to share more information about these, but it's PEACE or Preschool Education and Applied Sciences. And you're going to hear very soon about this program and other ideas that she has for extension agents, so they can share with you a little bit more about science and food activities, food-based activities that you can do in the classroom. But I'm just going to share a little bit about how the process of science is used in the PEACE program. So when she starts an activity with the children, they think about, okay, what do we know now? And they just put it in a white piece of paper and they start writing. So she writes, what do we know about these phenomena? So we talk about that, and it's just amazing because children, they have a lot of ideas. So if we were talking about apples, what do we know about apples? And children are going to tell you that they have seeds, that they grow in trees or whatever they know. then what do we wonder? If our children have any questions about maybe can we grow a tree in here in our backyard or in our school, in our center? So can we? So you start talking about this. Then what do we want to know? Or what have we learned? Okay. Or what do we want to know? And if you notice, this is the cycle. So what do we want to know? Oh, we want to learn more about apples, and you can have a lot of specific questions because the children will come with a lot of questions. And then what we have learned, okay? So you're having all these process, and again, you're not telling the children, you are learning together. So many times we have the answers. Sometimes we don't have the answers unless you're very smart. I don't have all the answers. So sometimes when I'm learning about nature or I'm learning about, agriculture or plants, I have to find the information because I don't know. Like sometimes, and you're going to think, oh, really, Michelle? Everybody knows this, but oh well. So when I was teaching about where plants grow, where different fruits and vegetables grow, I have to Google some of the products because I didn't know how they grow. So especially those that you're not around, if you don't live close to the field, I was like, well, I don't know how they grow. So I learned a lot, but that's how we need to discover with children, right? But we need to go through the process, not just Googling and getting the answer. Okay, so let's talk then about food-based activities. Last week, like I said, we talked about literacy in food. So this time we're going to bring all our senses together. So if we're talking about sight, let children look at foods before the food-based activity and describe color, shape, and size. So if we start when we finish a recipe, let's make those observations again. Is anything changing? And we have physical changes or chemical changes, so we can talk about those things. And even if we're not using those words, we can use the words, but we may need to explain the vocabulary that the children are comfortable and they can understand. Then the smell. Have children smell foods and describe the aroma. Does it smell like any other foods that they eat? And I'm laughing because yesterday we were making the zippy carrot dip, okay, that we did last week. And instead of just making a quick recipe because it's so quick, no, we explore each ingredient. And oh my goodness, in the beginning, the children said, this smells bad. And it was, not that positive reaction. And I was like, oh, they're not going to like it. This is going to be bad. So, but when they start exploring these things, like they even smell the garlic powder and then they smell the onion powder. And they were like, oh, yes, this smells like onions. When you smell like a fresh onion, but this one doesn't make you cry. They were like talking about those things. So it was amazing. There were some herbs and spices that they didn't recognize. And some children, they say, I know I'm not going to like this. So I say, how do you know that you're not going to like it? Because I don't like the smell. I said, what do you think is going to happen when we put all those smells together? And what is going to happen when we put all those flavors together? So they went with the flow. Again, it was a little bit of like, I don't know if I'm going to like these. Or some, like, I don't like carrots. Well, have you ever tried carrots with a dip? Oh, I tried it with ranch and I didn't like it. Okay, so you have those comments and that's okay because they have the freedom to express. Now with sound, ask the children to listen as they prepare and eat food. Does the food make a sound? What is it? So we were cutting with the scissors the yellow pepper, and they were like, you hear that? You hear that? I didn't say it. So they were so fascinated, like with the sound of the pepper. And another one, we were making the salsa. Another one was the green onions. And they're cutting it. They were like getting so quiet. I did not encourage about the sound. I was encouraging really the smell, but the sound, they wanted to hear about that. They were like trying to find like, how did this sounds like? So it was very interesting to observe the children like that. Then we have the taste. That was hard, especially they were really good with the strawberry kebab, and they were really good with the, oh my gosh, was the apples. Okay, that was fine, no problem. Oh, I found a child that he didn't like chocolate. That was it. But other than that, they were fine. But when we did the salsa, oh my goodness, they were so excited because we read the book and we talk about the salsa. But I know one thing that they noticed, that they say, well, this salsa doesn't look like the Mexican restaurant. And I said, well, what happened? What do we need to do? We need to blend it. And I said, well, maybe this is a different type of salsa. So we were just having a great conversation. And again, some children thought, onion, this is not an onion. This doesn't look like onion. I said, well, it's different. So when they were smelling it, they're like, well, it smells a little bit like onion. When they try it, well, it doesn't taste like onion, according to them. So encourage children to describe the taste, not just say it tastes good, and to compare tastes. It is sweet or sour. Does the grapefruit taste like a grape? In this case, we have one thing that they mentioned also, when I say peppers, they thought that the peppers were hot. So that was a misconception that they had. And because, you know, the pieces were so tiny when they were cutting it, and I encouraged to cut them like really little. When they put it in their mouth, they were like, oh no, it's not. One of our children, he said, I don't like tomatoes. I had never eaten tomatoes. I said, have you tried them? Yes, but I don't like them. And I said, okay. I said, well, we're going to try it. You don't have to eat it, but you just try it. I said, if you just put it in your mouth, that will be fine. When he put it in, he made this salsa, he's like, I can eat tomatoes like this. And it was just a wonderful experience for us. Oh, and thank you, Marianne. She's telling me, and remember, he asked you to take a picture of him because that was his first time eating tomatoes like that he really liked. Another one that this was fascinated, because we have a child with autism, and he was having a hard time like touching stuff. But because other children were doing it, you know, and we were just encouraging them, it was harder for him. But I think he was so excited about using different tools like the knife, the scissors, the one that they all wanted to keep. It was the lemon squeezer. We bought a lemon squeezers from the Dollar Tree, the dollar store, and they wanted to keep that, take it home with them. It was so funny. But they had a really good time. But touching the tomato was one of the hardest one. So now I wonder, you know, when we're giving them tomatoes and they put it in their mouth, if they have never had one, the tomatoes, especially those cherry tomatoes, explode in your mouth. So when they get this texture, it is really hard. But if they have a chance to touch them, to explore them, and we remove the seeds, and they were fascinated by that. So allow children to touch foods and manipulate foods. How does it feel? It is squishy. Is it hard? So having all those experiences would really help children to try new foods. Okay. Any questions so far? Any comments? I cannot see the chat, but Caroline, if you can let me know if we have any questions there, please interrupt me at any time. I don't mind.
Okay, so far people are just excited to be here and saying hey, and this is just fascinating. So just keep going, and if there's a question, I'll interrupt you. How about that?
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, like I say,
thank you.
Last week we talked about like reading recipes and pairing those recipes with books, and that is wonderful. But how can we go, you know, a little bit more like how can we encourage children to really try those foods? I will really encourage you to do science first and then cooking. And when I'm talking about science, early science, please, and I try to put you to put myself in your place, and also in children or families. So when I was trying to find experiments or science for children, for young children, they start giving you like it's kind of complicated. And most of the experiments that they do it with candy or things that are not the food that we want to promote. So that's what I'm trying to keep it, like using the local foods that we have, the foods that are recognized by our children and our families. So again, these recipes are really good because we are practicing a lot of the food science areas. So in one of the areas with sensory science, right? So when I'm already tell you all about using their senses. So we are applying a lot of sensory science. Then the food chemistry, when we are mixing all these flavors, or when we're cutting an apple and the apple becomes brown, that is part of food chemistry. Microbiology, when we are teaching a food-based activity, we need to promote food safety. Okay, and then engineering. So how are we going to keep this? What is the best way to use the different tools? Like I said, every time that I see children doing food activities, or when I observe other teachers doing food activities with their children, I am fascinated how they are already applying all these areas. And what you're doing is you're preparing children to be the future food scientists, right? So we need to keep encouraging this. And if they don't become a food scientist, they are going to be cooking, hopefully, right? And that's what we want to do. We have a generation right now that we don't have too many people cooking, or they don't have the skills, and they have to learn those skills in order to have a healthier diet. So why we don't start with our young children and start encourage them to use all these so they develop the love for food. Now, these were the 4 fruits and vegetables that we used last week. We have carrots, we have strawberries, and we have tomatoes and apples, right? Those are the recipes that we use. So how can we use these? How can we do some food exploration? So I create these graph for you, and I'm putting these, it's going to be on the link that we're going to share with you, that you can print it. I think I only made a poster, but I will make it. I will also have I think I'm already put the hand up. I can't remember anymore, but I will double check. So you know that I like to do posters, because when we're in circle time, we can talk about these. We laminate our posters, and then I can use a marker that you can erase, and then we can fill it out. We can ask our children to do it for us if they want. In here it says, today we tasted, so they can draw an apple, a carrot, whatever, and we can ask them to write the word if they want to write the word. So I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong poster. So this is the one that we have with this slide. So today we explore, and then we're going to talk about how it feels. So whatever it is, if it's a tomato, it feels smooth, it feels, how did it feel? And sometimes the children, they don't have the words, right? But we can help them to find the words. And then I see, what are some things that I see? Well, I have an oval, it's round, or it's green and it's red. So we can start describing it. I hear. So when I squish it or when I cut it, I can hear this sound. What kind of sound do I hear? I smell. I'm telling you, that's the one that they love to talk about it, because in the beginning they will say smell yucky, but then, or it smells good. But what else can we use? Oh, it smells very strong, or it smells like onion, or it smells like garlic. Yesterday, they were comparing something that I laughed because it was a funny thing, but it was real. Like they were comparing 2 smells. that it was two completely different things, but they made sense. And then it tastes, how it tastes, not just good or bad or yucky, how it tastes. And you taste like it's sour, it's sweet. So describing all those words. So giving them all those words or encourage them to use all those words is what they're going to make them a better people, that they can figure out if they really like something or not, right? So that's why the next graph that I have for you is the taste test graph. So in this one, again, we're using sensory science because we have to use our senses. Remember, the first thing that we do, somebody used to tell me or tells me all the time that we eat with our eyes. So depending how that looks, it's like, so I'm going to taste it or not. And most of the times, one thing that we always encourage is the smaller the piece of fruit or vegetable, the better. Because I want them to ask for more and not just to say, no, I can't eat that if I'm giving them something too big. And another area is the microbiology, because when we're doing taste tests, we also want to encourage food safety. So we'll wash our hands, we'll wash the produce. We even ask them to help us with the brush so we can encourage them. It's the whole process. Remember, it's not just me coming with tomatoes and you're going to try it. So again, I think I have this as a handout, but I love to do it as a poster because we're working together. We're trying together, and it's okay if I don't like it. So when the children learn that it's okay if someone doesn't like it, we're respecting them as a person. So again, today we taste it, okay? And they can draw or can write the word. And the first one, I love it. When I was creating this poster, actually, I just created it because a child said, I didn't like it. I love it. So I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So the first option is I love it. The next option is I like it. And it's because someday will be like, okay. Then it's not my favorite yet. We're opening possibilities, right? If I try it, and we know that normally it will take between 8 to 12 times for a child to be, you need to expose a child 8 to 12 times to like something, right? And for special needs child, it may take 20 times, and all children are different. And I always tell children, you know what? Bell peppers or red peppers or green, whatever, they're not my favorite when they're raw, but I love them cooked. So again, I'm giving them an option. It's okay. We don't need to like everything. And then when we were making the salsa, I said, but I really like them in this salsa because they have lime. So those are different ways that you can kind of help children to understand that not because I'm trying it today, I'm not going to like it. And then again, if like strawberries, I love strawberries, but if they're not in season, they're not my favorite. So that's the word that we use. It's not my favorite yet. And then it's okay if you have a child that doesn't want to try, I'll try it next time. If a child only touches the fruit or the vegetable, that's a success story. If a child smells it, that's a success story. If a child licks it, you're winning the lottery. If a child puts it in their mouth, in his mouth, that's really good. So it's not about, oh, yes, you did it. Oh, you didn't want to do it. No, just whatever they want to do. It's about touching. It's about using all their senses. So keep trying until you can do it. I go to different classrooms and I teach classes. And it's very sad when I'm having a taste test and the teacher, she hasn't even tried it. And she said, oh, I don't like that. My whole thing is like, oh gosh. If the teacher said, oh, this is really good, or this is not my favorite, but I'm going to try it, it's so positive. In children, just because she's willing to try it, even when she said, one time I tried it and it was not my favorite, but I'm going to try it again, you know, like for me is, oh yes, that's the attitude that we want to have. But if a teacher, the role model, the person that the kids are watching says something negative, it doesn't help. Okay, so that positive attitude and being a good role model is that what really helps these taste tests. Okay, so another thing that we have in here, and I'm going to kind of move these just to work on this one. So predict and compare. So we know that as one of the skills that we are, my water is dirty because I think the children in the office, they have been playing too in here. So another thing, we want children to make predictions and to compare, right? So some of you have seen this activity before. Maybe you do it also already with your children. This is one of my favorites. And again, this is part of the whole process. When we are going to do the sauce and we're going to use tomatoes, what can we do? We can compare and we can make predictions. So in here, I have different types of tomatoes. If I ask you, I'm going to use the small one and I'm going to use the biggest tomato. So this is a cherry tomato and this is a regular tomato that you normally use for your sandwich. It's called glow tomato. So which one do you think will float? The regular tomato or the cherry tomato? And you can put it in the chat box so you can tell me.
The big tomato.
The big tomato will float. Okay.
No, sink.
Oh, the big tomato will sink. Okay. I see some.
We have one cherry and one big one in the chat. Oh, another cherry. So I think we're tied 2 for 2.
Cherry will float. So, okay. And some of you think that the big tomato will float. Okay. We're going to let the big tomato go first. Okay. So I don't know if you can see it or not. Can you see it, Marianne?
Yes.
Okay. It's floating. Okay. Now we're going to do the cherry tomato. Guess what? It sank. So I tried this morning. I was fascinated too. So again, you know, the more water inside or the air, the more it will float. So this is a really, you know, showing to the kids. But for me, in my adult brain, it was like, no, the cherry tomato. I thought both were going to float, but no. So I also have the Roma tomato. So this is a good way to talk to the children about the different varieties, and we're comparing, right? So the Roma tomato also floats. And then I got so tickled about these that I have other tomatoes. Now I don't know if I'm going with my my presentation, but that's okay. I start doing these things and I start playing, and it was so funny because one of our staff members, she was walking into the kitchen and she was playing in here too. So in here we also have different tomatoes. There are cherry tomatoes, but there are different colors. So we can sort them. We can put all the tomatoes in here and we can encourage the children to sort them. I'm all about finding my supplies at the dollar store. So these actually tray, it comes from the dollar store. And I just enjoy these because, you know, well, they're touching our tomatoes, and then we can save some like just for that they can consume. Because they have been touching the tomatoes, they may be more willing to try the tomatoes. So this is another activity that they can do. I love these. How do you call these? Tongs? Well, these are from the dollar store too. So they can actually hold them. And because the tomatoes are soft, they need to be very careful. So this is a good way for fine motor skills, to develop fine motor skills. So that is another activity. So let me see. Okay, so this morning, you know how it is when you want to do an activity. I really wanted to show you this activity, not just in the screen, so or not just in my slide, but I wanted to show you the real thing. So I went to my Partnership for Children. They have a lending library, So they let me borrow this. So I was very excited. So thank you so much to the Partnership for Children in Wayne County. So here's another way that if we were measuring my tomato, okay, or weighting my tomato, okay, so how many blocks do I need? So I try it, but I can't remember anymore. So I'm just going to put my blocks in here. And these are very lightweight, not tomatoes, but blocks. So it took a lot of blocks from here, right? So depending on the skills of the math skills of your children, so you may need to have heavier blocks or lighter fruits or vegetables. But right now, and then we can ask the children how many blocks equals the weight of the tomato. So a great way to see what, this is a great visual, and they're exploring, and I didn't know, so I have to try it. And next time I'm going to have that concept, and I'm going to learn other things that to show different concepts, science concepts. So let me move this in here. So another thing that, for example, when we are looking, we're talking about carrots, the same thing, we can say, well, how big is that carrot? And we can start just putting our blocks to see how tall is her carrot. So I think this was like 8. Yep, one more. So I don't know if you can see it. Okay, so we have, like, we are measuring the carrot. Even if we're not doing with a ruler, but you can make your own ruler. I was thinking, I'm going to make a ruler with cardboard and just, having the lines so that way they can start also applying that concept. So this is just one more thing that they can do. So in just talking about, let me see. Okay, so another thing that we have in here is food exploration. So we want to learn what is inside of those fruits and vegetables, right? Is a fruit or is a vegetable? How do we know those things? So in this case, we can just cut maybe a Roma tomato, whatever tomato we have, or we can cut other tomatoes to see, are they the same? Are they different? But we can make predictions before we cut the tomatoes. So I don't know if you noticed about this science. These are not really experiments, but it's more about exploration. And this is not going to be expensive for you. And sometimes, maybe there's a field close from us. Maybe we have a garden and we can use our produce to do these activities. Or we can ask parents if they would like to donate something. Or even when the parents are having something that is, close to going bad, or that they can share with us, or if they have a garden, that would be a great idea. So let me move my blocks and my carrot. So when you're doing activities, like I said, how do you think the small tomato is going to have more seeds or the big tomato? So you just let them cut. Like I said, most of the times we can cut it with disposable knives. So we can count the seeds, we can observe the seeds. How do they look? Let me see. So, I think maybe this one has more seeds than the big one. So we can count and we can explore them. It was so funny when I was telling them that we were surgeons when we were cutting the tomato for the salsa and we were removing the seeds. And they were, what is a surgeon? So we have another conversation, but we can grab a spoon or we can take it with the knife, and then we can wash those seeds and we can dry them and we can try to grow them. And we'll see if we can have a tomato plant. I don't know, but just try it. I may need to Google that. Okay. So another thing is like when we have an opportunity to have produce like this, so how do you think they grab these from a tree, or do these grow? Where do these grow? And then they're going to start putting things together because maybe you took them to the pumpkin patch and they learned that pumpkins, they grow in a vine. So is the same, it looks the same, the vine from a tomato than a pumpkin patch. So we're comparing things. Another thing that I'm going to bring it in here, Marian. So I'm going to take it over there so you don't have to move. Just a minute. So I'm going to clean a little bit. Again, you don't see, oh, I broke my vine. Okay. I'm trying not to cover the camera so you can see everything. So again, here is an apple. We are going to cook with an apple. We're going to make a food activity with an apple. So the kids love, no, I'm not going to cut it with this. I'm going to cut it with a knife. So this is one of the favorite activities that children love when I go to the classrooms. I talk about knife safety, because I have to use a real knife. So, but they completely understand. They're very, I even say, okay, just stay there because I'm going to use my knife. So one of the things that I do with an apple, I read that, can't remember the name of this book, but it shows that an apple has a flower or a star inside. So I always ask the children, do you think it's a flower inside? And some they say, no, 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 because the way we normally cut apples in half is this way, right? So I cut it in front of them and I said, oh, there's not a star in here. Where is the flower that they're talking about in the book? So we're trying to, that hypothesis that is maybe made in the book or that information, we have to prove if it's true or not. So then I say, you know what? We're going to cut it in a vertical way. Okay, so I turn my apple and then I do it this way. And then when I show, oh, this was not a good apple to show, but well, normally it's a really pretty flower. So you can see the star there, right? Or the flower, but normally it's so pretty and you see the seeds. So this is one way to do it, to work with an apple. Another way to work with an apple, so we have so many varieties, and I'm sure you have done these before. So we have a green apple, and it's called Granny Smith, and we can give them the names of the apples and varieties, and then we can ask about, we can use this, how it feels, what do I see, what did I hear? And we're going to compare, right, and contrast. So what are some similarities that we have and what is different? So, and another thing that you can do is also to learn about the different parts. Oh, this happened to me last week. Okay, I'm going to suffer this. Oh. Okay, it's not going through because I did it wrong, but it's okay. Okay. I'm going to just cut it with my knife. So one thing that we can do, we can talk about the different parts of the apple, right? I don't know if this is going to go out, but it was supposed to go. So you put the core and in the middle, you put the core, and then you have, you can have the skin. So you can just peel it, just like the picture, but it's not working for me right now. So it's okay. And then we can get some seeds there. Let me see. So I even have toothpicks. So it's easier to get the seeds out. And that's the only seed that I found over there. So, and try to find why there's more seeds in some apples and there are less seeds, and you will find some information about that. Okay, so that's for that. Also, we can do it with the strawberries. And it's amazing because, you know, with the strawberries, it's kind of like the only fruit that had seeds on the outside. And how many seeds do you think is in a strawberry? And also we can keep all those seeds. And again, if we want to try to grow something, we can try. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, that's good. It has been an exploring experience. Another activity that you can do, like sometimes when you're cooking or when you're sharing apples with them, they make it brown, right? Because of the oxidation process. So what are some things that we can put in the apple to help with the oxidation or avoid that oxidation? So we can just do it with water, we can do it with vinegar, we can do it with lemon or with milk, and we can observe that process. but we can let them experience and let's see what happened. So that is another way to explore apples. How is my time? I have 5 minutes? Oh gosh, I better hurry up. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. So let me see if I missed anything. Okay, I really wanted to have these carrots for you today. It was so funny because when I was at the store and I needed to get some carrots just to give a little bit more, you know, the science effect on the TV. So I was with my daughter and I grabbed the carrots. I had these carrots. I had carrots in here, baby carrots, to show you and do more activities, but I don't have time. But when I grabbed these carrots and I was with my daughter and she's 14 and she said, oh my goodness, they really look like real carrots. And it was so funny to me because I'm like, yeah, those are real carrots. Those are real carrots too. And those are, but I guess she mean that like from the garden. And it was so exciting because normally children, if they don't have a garden, they will not see this, right? Okay. Marianne, did I miss anything? I don't think so, right? I have a mess, but that's okay. That's what it's science about, having a mess and letting children explore. And if you don't feel very comfortable in just setting up a science area with these kind of activities, it's okay. You can do it as a group if you feel that you can control a little bit. If that's what you want to do. On small groups, that also works really good. I have done the apples with a small group and they really enjoy it. And it is so fascinating to hear what the children have to say. So the last slide that I have in here is the QR code where you can find different resources from handouts from these posters and the presentation. I cannot remember what else I put. And if I make something else, I'll always put it there so we can have all our stuff organized. Okay. Do you have any questions or ideas or anything that you normally do in your classroom? Hello.
So this was so wonderful. I love your focus on the process and not just hurrying up and finishing the recipe, but like what can we learn along the way? That was really, really inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have in the chat, I cut our apples like that and the kids call it a star. That's so sweet. I love that.
Great idea.
Donna says her children like carrot chips.
That's good.
That's a good idea.
I love that. And you see, that's a great way because, okay, how did it, like when they, I'm guessing you're kind of like, you put it in the oven, right? So like how it tasted when it's fresh, how it tasted when you put it in the oven. So all these different, like, I think it's just so great that if you try them fresh and then when you try them in the oven, perfect.
I love that. And using your charts like you showed us with the comparison and that's so fun. Can do carrot like you did with apple last week. Chocolate syrup and sprinkles.
Yes. We did. We made apple nachos. So she said that she made it. I couldn't hear you.
I can't quite tell what the chat is saying.
Oh, okay.
Guess can do.
So let me tell you a little bit about the apple nachos. So again, my daughter is helping with the summer camps this year. So we were having the apple nachos and she saw the recipe and she said, I saw that you have some granola in the kitchen. Can I put some granola in mine? And I said, well, if you put the granola, we're just going to let all the children. And we asked them, and some of them, they never had granola before. So we put it on the side for them to try. Some of them, they like it, and some of them, they really care about it. But again, it was another experience like, okay, it's not on the recipe, but we can try this.
I love that. That's awesome. So she says that her carrot chips are cut with a serrated knife, but they're still raw.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's
Very
great.
cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You learn about shapes, you're comparing, all those things.
That's right. That's wonderful. Well, we are right at 4:30. Thank you so much, Michelle. This was just another wonderful learning experience with you. We're always so grateful when you join us. It's always so fun.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions, my information is there and I'll be more than happy to try to help you. And if you have any ideas, please share with me because I love to share with others. I think the best way that I learn is from you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Take care.
Goodbye. Thank you, Michelle.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.